Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com here with your Hurricane Pro and HD video blog for Thursday, August 27th, 2015. Let's take a look at what's happening here with Erika, this maddening of a storm. Forecast headache for sure. First, I want to point out what happened here in Dominica earlier today. This convective bomb went off over the top, very tall thunderstorms, a lot of very heavy rainfall, 6, 8, 10 inches in some areas. And these islands down here do have some elevation with them, and unfortunately it resulted in terrifying flash floods, loss of life down that way, and it just points out, underscores again the importance of realizing that tropical cyclones have all kinds of different hazards that they can hit you with, and even a disorganized, or as the Hurricane Center headline said, poorly organized Erika can cause some significant problems for areas like down here today with Dominica in the Caribbean. So interest here in Puerto Rico. You need to be sort of mindful of that over the next several hours as Erika heads your way, and the potential for flash flooding in your neck of the woods later today and tonight. Now the center of circulation with Erika located right in there. You can clearly see that low-level center, and it's exposed, yes, but deep thunderstorms trying to develop around it again. It looks like there's some outflow trying to develop here as well, with some of these clouds feathering out, but there are still very strong upper-level winds cutting across the top of Erika, and that's not helping things at all. Very disheveled. It's going to take some time for it to get through this shear. I think I can show you that right here. Oh, but first let me pop the San Juan radar loop for you. Not a lot of rain action headed into Puerto Rico just yet. The bulk of the activity still over here off the radar shot, but that'll be moving into the region this evening and through tonight. Expect some potential heavy rain through the Virgin Islands and then moving across Puerto Rico. And as I said, looking at what happened in Dominica today, please take that to heart. In Puerto Rico, larger population center, more mountainous terrain there, and we've seen what Erika can do with its torrential rainfall. Now the next few days are going to be interesting to say the least. A lot of people, certainly here in South Florida and beyond, very interested in what may happen with Erika. This is the upper level wind, sort of the shear map is a good way to call it, looking at water vapor as well, the moisture content in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. Erika located right in here, and a couple of interesting things to point out. You do have some strong upper-level winds to the north and to the south, but Erika is kind of stuck in the middle here in an area where the winds are spreading out just a little bit. And that may be owing to what we see here with this outflow pattern. Diffluent flow aloft allows the air to come up and spread out, which helps to keep the process going. More air comes in at the bottom and then comes out at the top. It's not quite as efficient as an anticyclonic outflow pattern over the top of it, but we're not seeing a very strong core of winds just blasting across Erika, tearing it completely apart. There is some, you can see that evident right here, pulling some of that moisture away, but overall it's not in a terrible environment. If it goes over Hispaniola and has to battle this shear, well, then it could be lights out for Erika for some time. And if it survives that, if it were to go over this island, then maybe it has time to regenerate here in the Bahamas. Maybe it doesn't. That's the problem. It's very difficult to ascertain what's going to happen, and people want to know. If we look at the latest afternoon model plots here, this from the National Center for Atmospheric Research, great model site, a very helpful tool to sort of see things in context. You have a couple of the models here on the east side of the envelope, heading up towards the Carolina Outer Banks area. A few of the models still coming in towards the Florida Peninsula, maybe touching it, maybe just offshore. But then some of the models taking it across the Greater Antilles and into the southeast Gulf of Mexico. Now let me show you this graphic, and then I'm going to talk about the previous one again. The intensity guidance kind of flat for the most part, except for the GFDL and some of its related models. It looks like some of the interpolated models go kind of hog wild, and a few of them do towards the end of the cycle, but overall, the next several days characterized by just a gentle slope into the Category 1 realm. So, yeah, you do have one up here sitting at Cat 5, but just throw that out for now. I think that's along the lines of some of these models that are taking it up on the east side of the guidance envelope, trying to ramp it up considerably. Now, I believe, and this makes sense in many cases, that the intensity and the organization of Erika will help to determine the track. A weaker, shallower storm or hurricane in the atmosphere, especially storm, will go more west, like this perhaps, or even into South Florida, but it would probably be weaker, maybe intensifying as it got close, but then dying out over land, which makes sense. If it's stronger and it's farther to the north, then it avoids most land masses, and it stays strong, and it goes around the periphery of this high pressure that's going to be sitting out here, the Bermuda High, and the forecast is a little bit more straightforward. So, it doesn't make it any easier to explain this, but the track, I think, is going to be pretty dependent on how strong Erika gets. Added to some of this are the ensemble members of the GFS as an example. And I just wanted to show you the spread here. One of the ensemble members, now this is a run of the GFS, and then you take 20 members of it, give it different input variables to have a different, whoops, turn the alarm off there, different output variables or results, and you get quite a spread, to say the least here, with one ensemble member way up here in the North Atlantic, another one over here near Chicago. But let's throw those out. Let's just kind of look at the general idea of the shape of the ensemble members here towards the Florida Peninsula for the most part, some of them offshore. But almost half of these ensemble members now take it into the Gulf towards Louisiana and Mississippi. So this just broadens the what in the world's going to happen notion with Erika. No easy answers. I don't have them. This just goes to show we're going to have to stay on top of this and just see what happens over the next few days. Luckily, we do have time. I mean, there is, a window of several days where we can watch. I know, again, as I've said before, it would be nice to come out and say, yep, it's absolutely going to make landfall between this location and that location, and it's going to probably be at this intensity or that intensity, but that's not the case. We're just not there yet. Meanwhile, in the Pacific, Central Pacific area of responsibility soon, this advisory from the National Hurricane Center in Miami, but the next one after Ignacio, Hurricane Ignacio, crosses 140 degrees west longitude, it'll move into the Central Pacific area of responsibility, which is run out of Hawaii, and as it were, it's headed in that general direction, probably going to be a major hurricane at some point, hopefully staying to the north and avoiding the islands with direct impacts. But as we know, the cone of uncertainty is here for a reason, and impacts can occur outside the cone for sure. Very heavy surf could be heading in that direction. First, coming in as this approaches from the southeast to the south and east facing beaches, and then as it passes by, the north and east facing beaches. Surfers will like it, but it could be a problem if you're not very good at handling those big waves. We'll watch this and see what happens. All right, well, that's what I know, which is, I know how to analyze it, but I don't know a solution. Let's look at it that way. Hopefully I shed some insight on what's going on, and we'll just all sit back and watch together and see what unfolds. I do believe the next 36 to 48 hours are the key for what eventually happens with Erika. Have a good rest of your Thursday afternoon. I do appreciate you tuning in. Hopefully you've learned something and enjoyed what you're seeing here. Enjoyed is not the right word, but you know what I'm saying, that you can appreciate the info brought to you, and I've helped shed some light on what's happening out there with Erika, especially, and then Ignacio over in the Central Pacific almost. Have a good rest of your day. I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. That's my website, and of course for Hurricane Pro and HD, I will be back tomorrow with another video discussion for you then.